G'day one, g'day all, Dad's here. I talk footy, hence the title of the channel, and if you are new here, welcome. Click that subscribe button because not only are you getting the SuperCoach content that you've obviously clicked on, non-SuperCoach content is still coming as well. So exciting stuff is happening. So if you haven't subscribed yet, click that button, click those bell notifications, and hey, let's go on a little footy journey together. But in today's video, as you guys know from the title, Brisbane's SuperCoach preview is here. Thank you to everyone that has watched the Adelaide preview and enjoyed it. I'm really glad that you have done so. But, of course, we move on to Brisbane. And it is the same structure. We look at the defense, the midfield, the forward line, and we go through the best picks, the watch list, the no chance, the cash cows, and we look at every club's ruck situation and know, are they suited towards Classic? Are they more suited towards the draft? You guys know all this if you've watched the Adelaide preview. If you didn't, you know the structure now, and it will be that structure for every team in the competition. So, without further ado, let's go with Brisbane, and as always, let's start with the defense. Best pick for the defense, sometimes you've just got to make the layups in this world, but Daniel Rich is the best Brisbane defender pick. And to be honest, he's probably the only Brisbane defender pick who's not a rookie, because he does everything that you need a premium defender to do. He takes kickouts, he has a lightning leg, he's a very good score involvement player, a meters gain specialist. He does it all Daniel Rich flavour, and he looks like an Alaskan caveman, which is absolutely fantastic. He's one of those guys that if you put in your team in round one, you're going to need to keep him all year. If there is any trepidation towards Daniel Rich flavour, it will be the fact that he is getting on. He is the wrong side of 30, as we call it, but he had a career best season last year. I'm sure he can continue that momentum, and he's not required to play an ultra defensive game, especially with Noah Ainsworth and Brandon Starcevich in the team doing those defensive duties. There's no reason why Rich can't put up a very similar season and would be a very good start to the team. At this stage, we don't know whether we're going to have a rookie graveyard or not, so we do need to kind of look at guys who are a bit more expensive that are going to have an expanded role and see if we can get some value. And this man offers insane value because Grant Birchall has left a half-back flank hole in Brisbane's team, and this man is going to fill it. Keidean Coleman has a fantastic foot. Apparently has worked on his aerobic capacity a lot in the off-season. I know everyone is flying on the track at this point in the preseason, but we still need to take these reports into account. I know that price looks scary, and we are going to need to see a bit in the preseason, but that is exactly why we have a watch list segment. I really like this kid. I know a lot of Brisbane fans do as well, and he is definitely one to watch out for, especially since last year we had Hawthorn's Chankwath Giath, who did a very similar thing. He came in a very SuperCoach friendly role after a little bit of senior exposure and dominated. And CJ was in a lot of teams, and look, it wouldn't surprise me if Keidean ended up the same way. So we move on to no chance, and this hurts because he's one of my favourite players in the competition, but when you average around the 90 mark, when you're in consideration for a SuperCoach team, the question needs to be asked, can you take that average and get more? Because sticking to the average that you've got, unless you're an Uber premium, is not really what we're looking for. And personally, I don't think Harris Andrews can do it. He's one of my favourite players in the league. Genuinely love him as a player. But considering Brisbane are going to need to stop being scored on, as they were one of the worst teams in the last 2 months of the competition for inside 50 per score differential. It's defensive inside 50. He is going to need to be more locked down, and with Daniel Rich taking kick-ins, you can't justify paying over 500 grand for a guy who I believe his ceiling is about his average from last year. So really sorry, Harris, unless you come out, mate, and in the first month you're pumping out 120s, you're no chance. He was Brisbane's first pick in the 2021 draft, and he looks an absolute goer. Darcy Wilmot is the defensive cash cow for the Lions. And what could happen here, and there's actually a few as we go through the clubs that I'll touch on, obviously, when I get to those teams, is that we have a defensive rookie that they could play on a wing. Hugh McCluggage has played more inside. We know Jarrod Berry's going to be fully fit and needs that midfield time. We've got Lions, Zorko. I'll touch on all those in a tick. But if Mitch Robinson isn't as fit, needs a rest, Wilmot can go to a halfback flank or a wing. And if he does plays a really SuperCoach friendly game. The kid's quicker than he gets credit for, is a good user of the ball. And again, we're not asking for 120s from our rookies. It would be nice. Hello, Sam Walsh, if you're listening. But if Darcy can plug and play, he's not at a scary price at all. Brisbane play a really good SuperCoach friendly game, especially if you've got their midfielders in your team. So Darcy is one to watch. He will be a cash cow if he can play. I am uncertain if he's going to play really early in the year, but I get the feeling that around the bye time, he's going to be our man. So keep an eye out for Darcy Wilmot. So that's the defense done. Let's get straight into the midfield. And the best pick for the midfield is Lachie Neale. And I know what you're thinking. Dazzling. You do know there's a bloke called Jarrod Lyons that exists, right? Yes, I do. And Jarrod Lyons is a genuine star. But Lachie Neale can average what Jarrod Lyons did last year for 548k. Yeah, that should just be argument done there. Neale won a Brownlow 2 years ago. And yes, he fell away last year. We know. Form, off-field issues that nearly caused him to get traded, as we know. Everything kind of went wrong for him in a way. And he still averaged 100. So if that's the worst that you're going to get, then he's going to improve at 550k. That is genuine bonkers value, and if you're not starting Lachie Neale, please comment below and let me know why, because he seems like money for jam. He is the best pick. If you are going to go down the Jarrod Lyons road, I don't blame you. The man is a star and continually proves people wrong. I am starting to feel like he's only taking the piss because I don't have him in my SuperCoach team. I don't think I've had him in my SuperCoach team yet. Is that a fault of mine? Absolutely, and I promise I'll work on that. But if you are tossing up between the two, they're probably going to average very similar. Neale is way, way cheaper, so Neale is the better pick for me. On the watch list is Hugh McCluggage, and he's on the watch list because surely he breaks out SuperCoach-wise and becomes an elite SuperCoach player, right? Am I hanging on to false hope here? Potentially, that's why he's on the watch list, and if he goes from that 100 and starts getting towards that 110, he's going to have to come into consideration in the year. When we make our upgrades, we're going to be looking for guys that are at bargain basement prices. A lot of players last year were looking at an Andy Brayshaw, for example, who came through for them magnificently in the midfield. McCluggage looks like he could be that kind of player. When injuries hit, if he's not injured, of course, himself, then he's going to present as a guy who can play an outside wing role, who can play a midfield role, and if the poor bloke could learn how to kick straight when it comes to the big sticks, could become an elite SuperCoach scorer. I get the feeling that not a lot of people are going to take this watch list pick seriously. I definitely am, because this man, once he breaks out, is going to become A+, but you just can't start with him yet, and that's why he's on the watch list. When you look at this man's average, you're going to think, no chance. What? He's not a DPP this year, and when you're the wrong side of 30, we can only expect your average to go down. So this hurts because he was a mainstay in my team last year, but Dayne Zorko is not getting a gig for me as a pure midfielder. If he averages 109 again, then this will be the worst SuperCoach take of all time. But I'm willing to bet that he's not. I still reckon he can average triple figures, of course. But when you're starting a guy or you're looking at a premium, you don't want their average to go backwards. And I am so not brave enough to think that Zorko's average is going to stay around the same or go up. I don't think it is at all. I think when Lachie Neale's fully fit, Zorko's going to go back to a more midfield half-forward type role. And there's going to be too many cooks in that midfield kitchen. Someone's got to miss out. And it's probably going to be the older bloke. Dayne Zorko, regardless of what you think of him off the field, on the field, has been one of the better Brisbane players of the last 10 years. He deserves all the respect in the world, but I'm not having him. Let's go to the rucks, and I've actually seen a few people talk about the Big O, and if he was on his own in the ruck department, he would be such money for jam. He's that kind of guy who you can just see on that upward trajectory and getting better and better and better. But Brisbane brought in Darcy Fort, and that's an instant turn-off for me. I don't mean that in a bad way, Darcy. I'm sure you're an excellent guy. Please don't take that out of context. But getting Darcy in tells me that they are willing to go with a more true ruckman style structure, because in the VFL, Darcy Fort was playing a bit forward as well. Can take a grab, kick a goal. And with Eric Hipwood not going to be playing for the first probably 2 months, 3 months of the year, Darcy's probably going to get games. I get the feeling that a 105 sort of average for Oscar that could be his ceiling is now going to become 95, 100 because Darcy Fort is there. So is he going to be a draft option? Absolutely, and the draft content will come after the Classic, of course. But the Big O, if he was on his own, I actually probably would start him. But now that Darcy Fort's up there, it's a no from me. Best forward option for the Lions is a man very close to my heart and a man that I have a fond appreciation for as a footballer. It's Zac Bailey, and here's why. He is a forward in SuperCoach that can play a whole game forward and average that. That is impressive. Now, is he going to get more midfield rotation time? Probably not. Is he going to have a huge spike in average? We shall see. He did struggle in front of the sticks at times, and as we know, goals really are nuggets of gold. So, are you going to be starting Zac Bailey in your team? Well, you are gambling on the fact that his average needs to go up by 10, but it's also one of those players that it wouldn't surprise me if that happened. I think he's an absolute star. I don't think he's fit to be a full-time midfielder, and the good thing for Brisbane is they've got the midfielders for that. So Zac Bailey is going to be a forward in SuperCoach. He'll probably be a forward for the next 3 years, and if you're more than happy to see that upward trajectory that he's been taking, then he's well worthy of a place in your side. I think there are a touch better options around that mark because there are guys that are forwards that will play as genuine mids, but my goodness me, is he going to come into calculation throughout the year. But he is the best pick for the Brisbane Lions, I believe. When you're taken so much higher in the draft than the average punter, and even Cal Toomey expected you to go, surely you've got to be in the plans of the team that takes you. And that's Kai Lohmann, a really crafty forward. And sure, is he going to produce us 100s? No. But at that price, if he's named early, he's absolutely going to be in a lot of teams. So I'm going to keep an eye on him over the preseason. I think you should too. There's just something sneaky about this kid, something sneaky good, and that's why he's on my watch list. And the biggest cash cow for the Lions is going to be a bloke returning from injury and kind of the forgotten man of the AFL in a way, and that's Cam Rayner. I know that price might look scary. Again, I know we're going to be looking at rookies, but if you can find the cash, if you can find value in perhaps defenders or midfielders, a guy like Cam Rayner is going to make you coin. He has scored higher than the price that he is based off consistently, and I know he can be a little bit inconsistent. So, whilst he kind of applies as a watch list cash cow kind of floating with Kai Lohmann there, if he scores well in the preseason competition, you'd be silly not to consider him, for crying out loud. He only needs to make you 100k, 150k. Downgrade a rookie, upgrade Rayner, and you'll be able to get a really good forward. Something to consider, and I think he's going to be in more teams than a lot of people expect. To the Brisbane cash cow, and I know the price is more expensive for a cash cow than usual cash cows, but considering this man can double his average, why wouldn't you have him in your side? If you can pay 200 grand for Jason Horne-Francis, you can pay that money for Jarrod Berry, no problem at all. And even if there is a sort of a gap in his centre bounce attendances, you only need him to average around 80. And then downgrade a rookie once they've had their time, upgrade Jarrod Berry, and bam, you've got another Uber Premium. There is no downside to Berry being in your team unless he gets injured, in which case we fix that. That's what SuperCoach is all about. The man has done great things in the past for that price, and I honestly think you're silly if you don't have him, but if you don't, hey, I'm not here to change your mind, only to let you know what's happening, and what should be happening is Jarrod Berry being in the conversation to being in your team, if not in it. Okay, so if you've played SuperCoach for even a little bit, what I'm about to say isn't really for you. You can follow along, but if you're going to comment below going, everyone knows this, that's defeating the purpose. This is for those that don't play SuperCoach much, or really want to improve their SuperCoach game. This is going to be a PSA, a public SuperCoach announcement. Do not have small forwards in your SuperCoach team. Even if early in the season they're kicking goals. Do not have them. So I'm really sorry, Charlie Cameron. You are going to be my poster boy here. So many novices I see on the SuperCoach page that I help moderate. I've seen it on some blogs and stuff. Beginner players having their favourite players in their team is a good thing, but if you want to get better, do not, and I repeat, do not have Charlie Cameron, Tom Papley, any of these all-Australian caliber small forwards. Avoid them at all costs. And the second thing, if you can look at Charlie Cameron's average and not laugh, is this really the place for you? So now on Daz's final word, all I'm going to say is Lachie Neale is the only Lion that is firmly cemented in my side at the moment. Once all the previews are done, I will give you guys an update on my classic team and how it's looking. But guys like Jarrod Berry, Jarrod Lyons, Daniel Rich are firmly in the conversation to get onto the team, and Kai Lohmann is looking at one of those bench spots throughout the preseason as well. So Brisbane are one of the more relevant Supercoach teams in the competition. Who are you looking at from a Brisbane point of view? Is there anyone I missed out on? Did you agree or disagree with any particular player in the preview? Comment below, let me know. Click that like button if you enjoy the preview. If you haven't seen Adelaide yet, go check that out. The link will be in the description, or you can just look at my videos and it will be there without a shadow of a doubt. Take care of yourselves, guys. I look forward to seeing you in the Carlton preview, another team that is going to be really interesting to talk about. I hope you're safe. I hope you're well. I will see you all soon. Goodbye.